Padgett. My mom is obviously one of the big organizers here. She set this up. And I'll admit, I'm a nervous wreck right now. I've never spoken to this. I know I'm like a superstar. I know I'm amazing in all aspects, every possible way. Some ways, I won second place at the LA Press Club Awards because I am a journalist. And yep, everyone should know me by that. Okay. But anyways, for the past few months, I've been working on this article about childhood cancer, survivorship. So, although I could go on about my journey, I was diagnosed at age 7 with ALL. I've talked about it way too much. 8 years, been talking about it every year. I come here, I explain myself. And so, my article is about survivorship. Not just my journey, others. Because what I found out is that people who even relapse, which I did not relapse, have been diagnosed with cancer. I have no idea what it is, how to even pronounce it. And so, and yet I can find common experiences within every single one of their stories, such as kids from high school to elementary running away from you because they think they can catch cancer. And then you have stories of childhood cancer survivors lying to their employers, to their coaches, to not be treated differently. And so you have this weird kind of bubble of people who cannot really be understood except by people who are like them. And I often think about what drew me to this article, why I even started, because for a long time, I ran away. I didn't want to face it. I hid. Some of my friends way back there know I didn't share about my cancer until late sophomore year. I went to my high school because no one knew I had cancer, because I didn't want to be defined by it. And so you find coaches, you find kids hiding the fact of their journey, so then they don't feel different. And this, although you can hide from it, this often leads to this phenomenon called survivor's guilt. And survivor's guilt comes in many forms. Soldiers experience survivor's guilt from surviving a war, deployment. People who have survived natural disasters. Basically, survivor's guilt is the guilt you feel for surviving something that others have not. What made me write this article was first learning the fact that childhood cancer survivors by age 28 have a higher suicide rate than the average population. So it's interesting because the suicide rate for childhood cancer survivors are the same as the regular population until age 28 when it spikes. And there's been multiple theories and there's been recommendations, but at the end of the day, it's survivor's guilt. And my personal theory is that it's sort of a midlife crisis. By age 28, you basically have figured out who you are, kind of at least where your career is going, what you're going to do with your life. You've graduated college, you probably have a job. So by age 28, you're supposed to be figured out. But for many who experience survivor's guilt, they often find themselves feeling like they have not done enough for what they've been through. Even though they have been asked by society not to do much. They have had cancer. They have had cancer, and you've survived, and now we don't really expect that much of you because you've already been through more than some people have ever been through. And so it's interesting that we hide that fact because we don't want to be different. We don't want to be treated like we can't do something. And so many people, they hide the fact they had cancer. But often by hiding the fact, you also hide it from yourself. And so often, I believe that by age 28, childhood cancer survivors spike in suicide rate because they feel a crushing weight for not doing more for the people who have not survived. And it's when you run, you don't have people, you don't surround yourself with cancer survivors. Right? You want to run from it. It's like how soldiers don't go to therapy with other soldiers and how alcoholics don't go to therapy for their addiction. It's because we don't want to face what truly defines us. And so, although I know survivors like me who have lied to their coach just to play sports, I know survivors who have hid the fact that they had cancer, so not to be treated differently. I know survivors who have tried to run away entirely, but they always find themselves coming back, one way or another. My article explains what we can do about this. And there's many ways we can do what we can do about this. Sometimes people themselves find their purpose. A lot of times suicidal people don't have a purpose. They don't feel like they have a purpose, or they feel like a burden. Purpose is what Gold Rush provides. My mom, Sandy, indirectly they experienced cancer. And they have found their purpose here because we cannot leave parents out. When I hear about childhood cancer survivors talking about how they can't be understood, I actually often think about the parents first. I think about how the parents, think about your child getting cancer, and you've dedicated your life. You had a child to protect them, to give to them, to make sure that they're okay. And then they get cancer, and you have no idea how to take care of them. Let's say that a child survives. Let's say the parent thinks everything will go back to normal. It's not. Unfortunately, parents can't relate. They can't provide what is necessary. And so sons, daughters, mothers, and fathers end up feeling a burden to each other. Sons and daughters feel a burden financially to their mother and father, and the mother and father feel like they can't provide what their child needs. So, oftentimes you see childhood cancer survivors expressing themselves in ways that, such as music. I know so many who have done music, art. For me, it's writing. For me, it's journalism. Purpose provides that security that you need to be able to fight the battle, the mental health side of the battle. Because so often, when I was going through treatment, the whole deal was beat cancer, beat cancer, beat cancer, beat cancer. Once I beat cancer, I was like, okay, what next? What to do? And Chalk has a survivorship program because they are directly in the same battle. The same battle after and during cancer. They're trying to make sure these kids survive. So, that's why I personally think Gold Rush is so important, because although we are small and compared to many other things, because I know survivors who are becoming nurses, doctors, they're becoming legislators to pass legislation for cancer research. There are many ways to find purpose, and we should be proud of the fact that we are one way to find purpose. We ourselves right now may or may not be directly or indirectly providing a purpose that will save a life. Because without purpose, you're lost, you're depressed, and that sometimes ends up into the worst of situations. And so I just want to say tonight to the people donating, you're not here just to provide a smile, although you are, and you will, because I know when I got my pot of gold, it meant a lot to me. But honestly, you're providing a lifetime of purpose, which I personally think is more important than any pot of gold. And so, thank you everyone for coming out tonight.